My name is Bill Meredith. I am the guy behind Leadville Designs. As was discussed, I've been doing a bunch of things over the last 20 years. Most recently in Leadville shops with Doug Junda and Bob Steers, and prior to that, we did Cimarron Works, which is a resin car kit. So with each sort of iteration, we learn things and we roll those skills into where we are today. We have, this is just a brief overview, a bio. We'll talk about the design process of the kits, manufacturing. I do some custom building design, which helps keep the lights on, and then stuff that's coming up the pipe, and then we'll wrap up. A bit about me, pretty much Pete nailed it down the can. I remember when I was 12, you didn't have much money when you're 12 years old, and I had a subscription to Railroad Model Craftsman, which was given to me by my parents for Christmas. And in that February 76 issue, there was the Leon Stewart's layout, and I would have loved to have seen it. I was just blown away by the mountains and the bridges and the charm of the narrow gauge and Chama. And my dad had a book, which I have now, which was Twilight of Steam Locomotives, which had a whole section on the Rio Grande in 1962. And I was able to sort of compare pictures, look at the model, look at the prototype, and I was hooked. So it was HON3 probably till we got down to Chama in 89 when I was 25, and you know, you start looking at things and looked at that wonderful layout they had down there, and then we also went up to Alpine Tunnel, and so since then it's been Denver, South Park, Pacific, and SN3 whenever I get around doing stuff. Just a rehash of the dates again. We did South Park Timescale, which started off as a venture in brass locomotives. It's a, you know, how to make $1 million in model train business to start with $10 million, and learned a lot of hard lessons and a lot of good lessons. I met some great people too. So it was very much a learning curve for me, and some wonderful lessons, and a lot of which was what not to do ever again. So from that, Bob contacted me, and we started the Cimarron Works, which is the resin kits, and then Leadville shops with Bob and Doug, and just to clarify for folks, is Bob and Doug are my best friends, but on a day-to-day basis, I am no longer involved in Leadville shops, although I do field the odd question about the product line from folks and try to get them lined up with Doug, who's now at the helm, and at the point. Back at the time, they went off to make or lose their fortune by buying Grant and San Juan, and God love them for it. And at that same time, I was laid off from my high-tech job, so I decided to start Leadville Designs and do it full-time. Mission statement. I know it's kind of cliche, and it kind of hangs over for my years in tech, but I really wanted to sort of come up with statements that would define what I'm about and what the company is about. And really what I'm to do is produce excellent products and services that are a pleasure to build. It has to be fun to build. It kind of goes back to I bought a kit from Sweden, Norland, the passenger car kit, the SN3 coach kit, and it had these beautiful drawings. It had a nice box of sticks and beautiful castings. And I started building it, and I got about a third of the way through it. And in the instructions, Swede had written, "Oh, by the way, your car's too wide. You have to narrow it." And that was the last time I ever looked at that. It became a box of sticks, and I took the castings and went something else. And I thought, what a miserable experience. That and if you've ever had the chance to meet him, he's a wonderful guy. So it wasn't anything about him. But the vision is use the best materials, integrated with the greatest amount of details. And my philosophy is if you can see it, it has to be represented in the model. And everything needs to fit exactly as it should. If it fits well, then at the end of your session hour each evening, you go, wow, that was really fun. There's no sort of grief factor. And then to innovate at every opportunity. It's not enough just to produce another boxcar kit. There has to be something that differentiates it, so that when the modeler goes, wow, that was really great. It wasn't about getting the boxcar, it was about building the boxcar. And if we can get the pleasure back into the building process, then we'll get more people building. It'll be a win-win situation. But if you're just building another boxcar, then you're probably more inclined to go for the Chinese ready-to-run stuff. At the end of the day, I want to provide good value for the dollar, excellent customer service, and to exceed expectations. So I'd like to sort of really have kits that fit together really well, that are extremely complete, and that you'll learn something. Did you learn something? I didn't know the boxcar went together that way. I didn't know that there was different kind of brake systems, and becomes an education. So that adds to it. We learn a little bit, we enjoy the building process, and you go, man, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. And I think I'll buy another one because, buying is good. It's good. We like people who buy. Next one. People ask me, how do I choose a subject? Well, I listen to people. I try to listen to a lot of people, and I try to listen to people who I know are, we'll call them serious model routers, not sort of tire kickers. We get the tire kickers coming around saying, usually the conversation starts off with the words "you should." But if they come along, and lots of people do come along and say, I really want one of these. I really need these. If you build these, then I'll buy 2 or 3 of them and I'll support you. So we have to sort of break away what we think sells and what we believe will sell, and try to sort of come up with a win-win kind of scenario. From that, I've been collecting drawings for decades, and we get reliable drawings, we get good photographs, and then a 2D CAD drawing is created. And the 2D CAD drawing has everything in it. You'll see in the image right now, right next to it is the Type 1 stock car. From that, the drawing is parsed into its subcomponents, physical subcomponents. Take the components out for the wood for the laser, the etched metals, the injected styrene, and I try to use available injected styrene parts, predominantly from San Juan. We've got to support those guys too, and no point reinventing the wheel. And then when there's parts, because we don't cut corners. When there's parts that don't exist, then we'll create the parts in 3D CAD, and then print them. And the resolution of the 3D printing that is achievable today is truly phenomenal. It's truly phenomenal, and it also enables you to print parts that have details on sides and shapes that you could not physically cast in an injection mold. The last component you take from it are the lettering. So I do all the lettering artwork. Over the years, I've probably done about 100 sets in several scales, but it has actually become a hobby unto itself. When you start getting into the different lettering and the different idiosyncrasies, and it becomes quite fascinating. And no 2 styles are the same. So that's how we choose a subject, we design the 2D drawing, and then the 2D drawing is broken out into its subcomponents. Taking that next step, the wood components are breaking off into using Corel Draw as the CAD, and then those drawings are broken into the wood type, then the wood thickness. So most of the time, it's going to be either basswood or plywood. Plywood thickness of 1/64 and 1/32, sometimes 1/16 of an inch, and the basswood, whatever we can get. Now, the guy Tim Waris at Mount Albert has been wonderful, and he's been able to cut some stuff for me, which wasn't previously available. But those drawings are then created, and for each parts of the car, and then similar materials and thicknesses are grouped together, and then it's cut on the laser. The edge components are also done from the 2D drawings, and it starts off with the simple drawing, and then you have to create what's called the back view, then the front view, and that gets sent off to the etcher in the UK of all places. 3D components, whatever's needed. If it doesn't exist off the shelf, then 3D components are drawn up and then printed. So you'll see in the images next, the truck side frame is the drawing that was used for the HON3 CNS 4-foot rigid arch bar truck. And the drawing next to that is what the etchings look like before they're parsed out from between front and back. I like to use the 3D CAD for creating exploded view drawings. So that's the image you see below. The wood components are then, the wood component drawings are brought into the CAD package and then created, then they're expanded. And then you can sort of manipulate the parts and move it around, and it really helps visualize how the parts go together. And the last one is of course, the lettering artwork. We'll call them draft samples, are tested, revised, so everything fits perfect. And then the 3D images are used for the instructions and also the web material. And then I test the instructions, read through them again and again and again. Now, it does help that in my tech career, I started off as a technical writer for several years, and that's when I went to school. So I was able to bring something positive from that experience. To augment things around here and to keep the lights on, I've taken some of the skills I've learned and I do custom building, whether it's 3D design for ABS parts or decal artwork. It's always good to have the variety that it brings in. And like I said, I probably wouldn't be able to make it just as manufacturing. So between the two of them, lights on and it keeps the wife happy. I've done everything from N scale to F scale. Rate is $40 an hour, which is fairly competitive. And I have to say a shout out to Kelly Morris and Larry Edwards, who were very supportive. And I'm really going to miss seeing Larry at the shows. He's retired now, but just the work they do is inspirational. And you know, if you can't be inspired by some of the stuff that these guys are doing, then you're really missing out on something. Over the years, I started originally, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago, I started with 3D printed H1N3 kits. Now these were, if you're into 3D printing, these were done in a multi-jet printer. Interesting proof of concept, or interesting idea. The resolution was okay for the time, even good for the time, but the residue and the cost made it, when I mean residue, I mean the residue from the wax, because it would make a wax substrate to support freestanding structure, which basically means instead of having a support structure to carry the weight of parts that were going to be out in midair, they did the wax, and the wax left kind of a gummy stuff. Now, if you've probably, I'm sure a lot of you have bought parts from Shapeways, so that's a multi-jet print. And the problem with getting the wax off it is the cleaning process is a little nebulous. And it was also really expensive. So when you see the parts on Shapeways and you go, wow, the guy's really asking a lot of money for it. It probably isn't. He's probably not getting very much at all. Shapeways is not a cheap proposition. From that, I moved into the laser cut kit. So we started off with cars that were cut by Ken Burlow of Mount Blue. And Ken, wonderful guy, did a wonderful job. We started off with the O and S scale standard gauge box cars, some Rio Grande cars, the coal car you see there, the South Park box car. And these were more of a proof of concept to try and get my feet wet and to see how far I think I can take it and what the market will sort of, how will it be supported by the market. After a while, we sort of got a little bit farther, and I bought my own laser, but bought a couple of Chinese ones, which I sent back, or which I sold off, but I got a nice, good American one now. And then also did the HO strain beam truss bridge, the South Park prototype. That was a fun little project. And to go with all those, go with some of those, at least some of those cars, a line of brass trucks. Some of them were actually quite complex. The Thielsen trucks had actually functioning swing beams, and they were very accurate, but really tedious to put together. And the last thing was we did our own gearboxes for certain locomotives, and those are kind of fun too. Again, a bit of a learning curve. Okay, so you guys want to know what's coming down the pipe. So in the next 6 to 8 weeks will be the ACNF 30-foot St. Charles boxcar, the Type 1 boxcar, to go with the Type 1 stock car. It's the same car that ran on the RGS and the CNS for the most part. Also, the Nevada County Narrow Gauge in Florence and Cripple Creek. Be doing it with full interior detail, brand parts, or sorry, San Juan parts where applicable, 3D printed parts, otherwise etched metal, etched brass parts to sort of fill out the complement, and then a full complement of decals depending on which road you're modeling. The 3 scales, the trucks for them are available in HO from me in brass. In S scale from PVC, that's Paul Vaughn, and then an O scale from San Juan. Funny little story, both the SN3 and the ON3 trucks were designed some years ago and molds cut by Joel Burling. So it's really a small world. And the prices are $39, $64, and $84.95. So anyways, that's coming out 68 weeks. The drawings are already, the CAD drawings are already done. And the wood drawings are about halfway done. And it was really, I was hoping to have it ready in time for Hickory, but I'm not sure if I'm going to Hickory. I'm not sure if I can go to Hickory because the border is still closed, and I don't think it's gonna open, but what are you gonna do? Next, Proto ON30, anybody? This is the ON30 Ferrocarril on Mexico 30-foot boxcar. It's a plug door boxcar. It was a project that I started a couple years ago for a client, and he graciously allowed me to market it as a kit with money going back to him to help offset the cost. Funky car, because it is a plug door boxcar with an arched corrugated iron roof. So if you want something a little out there, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and it also comes with a complete complement of decals. And again, 6 to 8 weeks. The work's already done. All the CAD work is done. It's just a matter of sitting down at the laser, as I call it, feeding the beast, putting in the pieces of wood, hitting the go button, taking it out, putting another piece in. It takes a lot of time. 4000 series LOW cars. A lot of demand for those. So I did the 04965. The 4000 series cars were very similar. I'm not going to tell you they're identical, but they were 4000 series box cars, and then they sort of branch out. The windows are in different locations, the doors are in different locations. They had different styles of roofs. The first kit was the bunk car, and then I have some ideas for a second one. If anybody like, this is going back to listening to people, if there's a car that you want, let me know. I've already reached out to folks like Brian Bass. He's actually already reached out to me about this. He's given me some good ideas. So that's also something I like to sort of do these probably once, a new car every 16 months. So it's going to be an ongoing program. To try and expand the scope of the business, I've created an outfit called Fine Scale Trains, which caters to transition era standard gauge stuff in HO&N. Just go over this briefly. Most of the kits are predominantly etched metal, etched brass, etched nickel silver with 3D printed parts. Right now, I've got the N scale and HO scale Q stock car, and Norfolk and Western hopper car, and a complete potent narrow train and N scale. And that has the American Limited Models core kits and shell scale decals. Now, getting out there, like to get the shows. Not too many shows we can get to, but as soon as this thing passes, I'm going to try and get out to more and more shows and get out and meet people again, especially the narrow gauge shows. For those of you who might be interested in the 4965, the O Scale Resource and S Scale Resource magazine program, New Track Modeling, is featuring it this fall. So you can log in if you want to sort of, I think it's like called Building with the Master. So the master model builder is going to take everybody through the steps of putting together one of these MOWs, and for those interested, there's a 10% discount for those in the program. So you get on the program and you order the car and you get a 10% discount at checkout. Yeah, acknowledgement. Hey, you know, got to thank a lot of people here. And I think we can't thank enough the pioneers who enabled us. That is Cliff, Levon, Eric Brocker, Jim Fennell of Durango Press, of course, Bill Peter and John Parker. Without these guys, they wouldn't have, without their drive and their vision, where would we be? Where would we be? It'd be a completely different world. And of course, the pioneers who enabled these online celebrations, Russ, Dave, Mark, Pete, Berg, Jerry, and Jeff. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful experience, and hopefully it'll grow, and it's going to grow, and it just provides a wonderful venue for people to get together and share ideas. So, wrapping up, it's a great hobby. It truly is, and I tell people, anybody who listen, that where else can you learn art, mechanics, electronics, carpentry, lighting, all sorts of things, and you just sort of wrap it in, and we have just so much fun, and they're the best people in the world. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about what I do and where we're going. And if you need to reach out to me, I'm on the web. My email is leadvilledesigns@gmail.com. The phone is my cell phone, which I keep with me, and if I don't answer it, it's just because the laser's on, or I'm on the lathe or something, or I'm asleep. So I'm always here. That'll always reach me no matter where I am. And for hanging in there for this presentation, I put in a discount code, which is good for another, I guess, 6 nights. So just type in NNG if you're interested in checking what we're doing, or if you've seen something you like, then put in NNG and you get a 10% discount at checkout. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Questions?
That was great. Thanks for the rundown of Leadville Designs. I got a couple questions. Does one person ask, does Leadville Designs still offer the ON3 coal car?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's on the webpage, it's available.
Okay. Someone else said, if you design a kit in HON3, SN3, or an ON3, is it simply an act of upscaling, or is it a more complex process?
When it comes to the wood components, it's totally different, because the wood, of course, is different thicknesses, right? So a frame, I try to cut the frames in one piece. So in HO, for example, 4000 series boxcar, the sills are cut from 1/8 basswood. In O scale, they're cut from, I was saying 1/8, I meant, basically it's 3/32, so 0.96. So I cut it from 1.166 basswood. And then but you also have, because it's a laser, and you have to compensate for the fact that as it goes through thicker pieces of wood, it creates sort of a V-shaped curve. So you have to sort of adjust. So it's a starting point, but you're always adjusting. You always have to adjust. And for another thing is the sides on the stock car in HO are 36 plywood. In O scale, they're 16th plywood. Again, it's a different animal. So different power levels and different speeds. It's like the best way to put it. It's a starting point, but it requires a fair amount of fine tuning.
Okay, thanks for that, Bill. Really nice. Jim Brown said, really nice presentation. Thanks for that presentation.